Welcome to the Future and Beyond podcast. Let's chat about being future ready in the classroom.
Are you ready now? Oh, you better be ready.
Hello, future ready educators. Welcome to the Future and Beyond podcast, being future ready in the classroom. I'm your host, Lisa Hockenberry. I'm a digital learning coach at 2 elementary schools. I'm so excited to bring you the last of our interviews with our wonderful teachers. You will be hearing from fellow colleagues about the future ready profiles in our district. I hope you enjoy hearing from these teachers as much as I did. I also want to let you know that the next series in our podcast after these interviews is going to be about makerspaces and embracing challenges through inquiry mindset, and of course, seeing how our future ready skills fits into all of it. I'm so excited to be bringing this next series to you. I can't wait. But first, let's get to our interviews. Hi, Future Ready podcasters. I want to give a warm welcome to Casey Molina. She is a fourth grade teacher here at Smith Elementary. So, Casey, thank you for being here today and sharing your Future Ready experiences with us all. So,
Yes, hello. I'm happy to be here.
awesome. So, let's get started. So, first question, what do you think makes a future ready educator?
So, I have been learning a lot about future ready educators this school year, and the Frisco Future Ready Educator profile is new to me, but I have just been exploring the different components, and they all really intertwine and work so well together. And two that really stand out to me as a future ready educator are the engage part, which I think educators are constantly doing in their classroom, and collaborate. And so, as a future ready educator, I really utilize engage and collaborate in all of my lessons and interactions with my students each day.
Which totally helps keep them engaged in the lesson because they're part of it. So that's amazing. Which leads us to what do you think makes a future ready learner?
So, a future ready learner, these components are just things that I think we instill in our kids each day. And I just gravitate to the embrace challenges. And as a future ready learner, things are unpredictable, and just embracing the challenges helps our students to know or to have that growth mindset. And so when we focus on the embracing challenges, we are just preparing our students for all aspects of life outside of the classroom and beyond school.
Yeah, which I mean, that's kind of, you're just like leading me right into my next questions, because that was my next question is like, how do you think like being a future ready educator and in promoting those future ready learners in your classroom, like how do you think that impacts your kids?
So this impacts kids in such a tremendous way because it really is lifelong. And these components are just vital to, like I said, life outside of the classroom, and just embracing challenges and communicating, collaborating, all parts of this just help kids be prepared for any situation. And they're important no matter what they're learning or what job they are applying for. They just really apply to any situations.
That's what I like about them too, is it's kind of like they're not like a specific skill to something. It's a life skill that like they're going to be able to take with them, and the more they practice it, starting all the way in elementary, it's going to be great.
Yes.
So the next part is just kind of thinking like, how does your class look if like someone came in and saw Future Ready in your class? Like, what are some things that they might see?
So communication and collaboration are just occurring in all situations whenever we're in whole group or small group or even one-on-one situations. Students are just sharing their thoughts and practicing effective listening and working together to learn from each other and reach goals together.
That's amazing. And that is just such a great thing for kids to have that impact, and again those life skills. But thinking about like, so we kind of talked about the student side, and this is like, these are great things, but as teachers, we all know there's like a ton of things on our plate. Like, what are some barriers you think teachers might come across trying to do future ready in their classroom?
Yes, I do think a barrier could be just trying new approaches or new things takes patience and time to practice and get better at incorporating them in the classroom. So I think that could be a barrier. And just pushing past our traditional way of thinking, and the teacher leads the lesson. And I think as teachers, we might tend to gravitate towards that, but with more practice of that student led component and the critical thinking, I think that it will get easier over time, and then the students will become the leaders, and we can kind of just not sit back, but just let them explore in their own learning.
Yeah, I know. I love that you said student led. Like, it made my future ready heart so happy, because that's exactly it is, and it's hard to kind of step back and let them lead the way on it. But the things that you're gonna like see from that, I think, are amazing. So that kind of takes us to that last question of like, what gets you like excited about future ready in the classroom?
The thing that I have been talking about that gets me really excited is just that lifelong part of it. And we're not just teaching them something to master fourth grade curriculum, but to master like life beyond the classroom. And on the profile, just that part that integrates the social and emotional abilities will just impact students in so many great positive ways that will just lead to growth in many areas. So that's really exciting.
It is like, that's what gets me so excited. That's why I'm always like, future ready, future ready. But anyway, well, thank you. That is amazing, and I'm so glad you loaned your voice to us. So thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, Future Ready podcasters. I want to give a warm welcome to Kinsey Shelton. She is a fourth grade teacher here at Smith Elementary. So, Kinsey, thank you for being here today and sharing your Future Ready experiences with all of us.
Hello.
Hello. So, you ready to get started?
Yes.
Okay, so let's dive into the first question. What do you think makes a Future Ready educator?
I think someone who is really flexible and open to learning a lot of new things, and open to trying different things, because you have to do that when you've got all these kids that need different styles of learning. So I think you have to be really flexible to be that kind of learner or educator.
Yeah, absolutely. Totally agree with that. That flexibility is a huge piece of it, I think. Which leads us right into, what do you think is a future ready learner?
So I think a lot of the same qualities, someone who is also flexible, because we're going to be pushing them to do things, to collaborate and communicate in different ways that maybe they're not used to, especially with the previous year. We were all separate in separate areas, and so they didn't have the same opportunities to collaborate. So they're really learning to be flexible this year in our new seating, and making sure that they know how to communicate effectively with all different types of people.
Which is like so big, right?
Yeah.
Like, they've got to know how to communicate. Like,
Yes.
that's, I think, communicate and collaborate are my like two favorites. I just think they're just such like the foundation to all the other skills. Because if you can't like
Really.
collaborate, work together, then
You can't contribute.
yeah, exactly. So, knowing a future ready educator and the future ready learner, like, how do you think those impact your students? Like, knowing those things, being that kind of educator, how do you think that impacts?
I think that just being aware of them makes like teachers more intentional in using them, but I think we use them all the time anyway. But I think it just makes you more intentional, like, okay, how can I make this project maybe more collaborative, or how can I make sure like their goal is to work to contribute towards something larger than just to turn in this assignment. So I think that's something big.
And I love that you said, oh my gosh. I love that you said about the collaboration, working together. So that's huge. And there was something you said that I thought was amazing, but I'll just replay it later.
Yeah.
So what do you think, if another teacher walked in your room, like, how would they see some of those like aspects around the room?
Well, I think that I'm still learning how to implement it every day with our new seating. It's been tricky. So I try to collaborate. Oh my gosh, gosh, I keep saying that wrong, with the kids to make sure a system that works for me and them, because that's important because they have to figure out what spots they're working with. And they are also trying to figure out what, how best to work with each other again. So I think that you would see a progress classroom, not a perfect classroom, because that's what I'm working on.
Well, I think also like a future ready classroom is always in progress. It's never perfect because there's always different avenues to go. There's so many different ways. And I like what you said earlier. I think that's what I was wanting to say is how you said as an educator, y'all are already doing so many of these things. And that's what I wanted to highlight too in some of these interviews is that you guys are already doing so much. And like you said, just being intentional about some of those choices that you do make. But it's amazing. Okay, so it's easy to sit here and say, you know, I've done this or we can do this. And it's easy for me to be like, oh, you guys should do these things. But what do you think are like barriers for teachers in like implementing some of these future ready things?
I think time always is a big teacher barrier. Like maybe willingness of kids, because sometimes it's like it's easier. Okay, you're just going to do that independently because we can't handle it in a group. Willingness of kids, their abilities, even, and I think sometimes giving the reins over to kids is hard too because that looks a lot messier than when I just teach it. So,
and you are not the first one to say that. I think that's a huge thing. Is it is messier when they're kind of leading the learning on it because they're young kids, but I think sometimes those messy situations can have better results in some of the things they do. Because I know, like when I was teaching, I'd sometimes be like, "Oh my god, I would have never thought of that." So I know that part is really cool, but it is hard. It is a barrier because you guys have certain standards you have to hit. Okay, so the very last one though, like what gets you like super excited like about Future Ready though?
I think because it literally does prepare them for the future. And that's kind of something when I even worked in 5th grade is like, we try, like, you're not just doing this assignment just because you are getting ready to be prepared for a job and be prepared for college and all of these things above. So really working on these big, like honestly big social skills to get them ready for the future.
And that's what excites me too, is like these are life skills that can be implemented like throughout. So well, thank you for loaning your voice to us.
Thank you so much.
Hi, Future Ready podcasters. I want to give a warm welcome to Amy Wachter. She is a 3rd grade teacher here at Gunstream Elementary. So Amy, thank you for being here today and sharing your Future Ready experiences with all of us.
Absolutely. I'm glad to be here.
So let's get started. Okay, so what do you think makes a Future Ready educator?
I think to be a Future Ready educator, you have to be willing to learn new things, be open to, constructive criticism, and learn with the times and know that the world is a different place than it was when we were growing up, and that we have to be prepared to teach children what the world's going to be when they get there and have the tools that they need in place. It's not just a simple little go to school, learn your ABCs, and get out and go. It's not the world we're in right now.
No, I'm so glad you said that, because it kind of is like that whole, like, they can Google the ABCs, they can Google state capitals, but can they communicate? Can they, so absolutely. So thinking about the kids, what do you think makes a future ready learner?
I think having the kids well-versed in a variety of different learning techniques and understanding who they are as a learner, that you might not learn everything exactly the same way as the person sitting next to you, and that's okay. But in really understanding what works for them and being able to be in situations where they're using new technology or they're creating something in a different way or thinking outside of the box and just challenging themselves to be ready for the future and to know that that's what their goal is, and to have them even thinking about goals and knowing what goals are.
Yes. Oh my gosh. You feel like you hit everything. You hit all the future ready components in that. That's amazing. That's exactly true. Just preparing them and being risk takers and being able to face those challenges. So absolutely. So knowing a future ready educator and future ready learner, how do you think that knowing those parts and those things, how has it impacted your students in the classroom?
I think it's definitely had a positive impact on my students. I I can see them thinking differently and changing the way they're thinking and thinking on the fly almost. If they realize something's not working, they're able to stop and assess the
Mhm.
situation and move forward in a different way because they're ready for it and they know this isn't working for me, so let's try something different. And they're well versed in just a variety of different things, and they're so eager to be on like Chromebooks or to use different technologies to do the coding activities. Like they're the things that they get so excited about, and it's fun to see what a difference that is as compared to years ago when it's just pencil paper learning and that's all we got.
Yep. Yep. I love that. I love that they're like you said, like they can assess their own like and problem solve. Like this isn't working. Let me try this.
Right.
That's amazing. It's not every that doesn't happen everywhere. So that's awesome. So what do you think? Just knowing about all the components and stuff, what could be like a barrier for a teacher in trying to hit some of these components or implement these things?
Honestly, I think being closed-minded and not open to new things and even constructive criticism if you're not doing something, that's going to prepare the students to be the best version of themselves and to be ready for their future. It's okay for someone to tell you, hey, let's try this. Like, take it. Everyone's there. Like educators in our community, we're there to learn, and we got into education because we love to learn. So learning new things are going to change, and being open to change and doing different things and studying different techniques and anything that comes out, like, hey, let's give it a try. If you want me to try it in the classroom, let's see.
Yeah, that is so my philosophy. Like I was always like, what's the worst that can happen? It doesn't work, we try something else. It works, it's fantastic.
Right.
So like let's just keep trying. So that's amazing. I like that attitude.
Yeah.
Okay, so last question. What gets you like super excited about like Future Ready and just all these things?
I think that getting them future ready opens the door for a lot of aha moments. And those are just, I mean, as an educator, I love seeing those. And when they happen, it just makes my heart happy. And I'm like, and that's why I do this. Some days you're like, I'm not sure why I am doing this, but it's those reasons. And being open to all the different kinds of assessments and curriculums and instruction and working as a professional community lends itself to have those aha moments, and I love it. I love seeing it.
Those light bulb moments are like the things you live for. I love them. I love it. Well, thank you for lending your voice to us today.
Thank you so much for having me.
Hi, Future Ready podcasters. I want to give a warm welcome to Carolyn McFall. She is a second grade teacher here at Gunstream Elementary. So, Carolyn, thank you for being here today and sharing your Future Ready experiences with all of us.
You're welcome. Hello.
Okay, so let's get started. So what do you think makes a future-ready educator?
A future-ready educator, to me, is someone that's creating an environment of creativity, collaboration, a lot of student choices, and definitely communication.
Those choices are like, I think it's hard sometimes to give those choices, but it's so important because that's where the student-centered and student-led happen. Yeah. So what do you think makes a future-ready learner?
I think a future-ready learner is willing to take a risk and try and identify their learning. So what are they needing to learn more about? And then also a future-ready learner to me is sharing their learning and listening to others so that they can either grow in that learning or be able to communicate about their learning.
It's so true. Like the communication pieces are a big piece, I think, because it's a life skill. If they can't get their ideas across, and I like how you're like the fifth person I've talked to that has said like it's risk taking.
Yes,
because I think that's true. Is like sometimes they lose that as they get older, but like they need to keep that
right
and know that it's okay. That growth mindset.
Yes.
So knowing a future-ready educator and a future-ready learner, how do you think that's like impacted your students like in the classroom?
It's impacted my students because I do try and give student choices and trying to direct them that you pick your learning, what you feel like you need to work on, and then also making sure that they are communicating with one another, helping one another out, collaborating. And then that kind of goes back, like you said earlier, to all of our character words. Like it helps impound all of those with the students. And then I do think there's time where they need to work independently to be able to write or express their feelings in order to communicate them.
Yeah. I always like tell people communication's like my most favorite one because it's just I feel like it's the foundation to all the other pieces of
Yes, I
it, you
agree.
know. So what do you think? We kind of talked about what an educator and learner is, but what could be like a barrier for a future ready educator? Like what would stop a teacher from being able to really embrace it?
A barrier I definitely think is just being a risk taker, like trying to try new things. I know when I was first doing one activity on computers, I was just told over and over, just tell the students, try it, just try it. And the fear of you not knowing how something's going to end up or not knowing how it's going to end can be frightening, but just to take that risk and say, okay, let's just try it. I'm not sure how it's going to end, but have the students take the risk and just try it. And if it doesn't end up the way we thought, we'll try it differently next time.
Yeah. Modeling that risk taking a little bit.
Yes,
it's
that's
okay
true.
if we fail. Okay, so to wrap it up, what do you think, like what gets you like super excited about Future Ready that you'd want to like share?
I get excited about it because students can express their learning. They can show their learning, and you see the excitement in them of doing something either creative or analytical, whatever it may be that helps them learn. That's the kind of, when you see it in their eyes or they get excited about it.
Yes. That light bulb moment.
Yes.
It's just amazing.
So true.
Oh, those are things that get me excited too. That's what always got me excited. That's why I became a DLC.
Yeah, exactly.
This is right up my alley. Well, thank you for chatting with us today and lending your voice to us.
You're welcome.
Thank you for taking the time to listen to our interviews from our very own teachers. Until next time, stay future ready and don't forget to fill out our episode 4 and 5 Google form. See you next time.
Ready? Are you ready? I said, are you ready?